Hey everyone, Tristan back with another video, and in this video I wanted to talk about my tips and tricks for how never to lose money in the stock market. And this is sort of going to be like what I've done for like the past decade or so, and I've been pretty successful with it, so I figured I'd share it with you. It's just sort of an impromptu video here, nothing formal or fancy, but it's stuff that's on my mind, so hopefully you'll find it useful. My first tip is to only use bonus money that you might have to invest in the stock market. So it's much like gambling. You know, in gambling, they say never gamble more than you can afford to lose. I kind of consider investing in the stock market a bit like gambling. You don't want to take your whole paycheck and put it into the stock market or something like that. You also want to make sure that all your bills are taken care of first and that you have enough money in an emergency fund before you even think about investing in the stock market. So if you get a bonus at work, money that you weren't expecting in the first place, that might be a good time to think about investing that into the stock market. Uh, that's money that you may or may not have had coming in the first place, money that you weren't counting on. So that's bonus money that you can go ahead and consider play money. That would be fine, to invest in the stock market with. So, for instance, that's something that I've done. Anytime, like in the past decade, that I would get a bonus at work or something like that, I would put it into the stock market. And then I sort of figured even if I lost it all, I wouldn't cry that much because it was extra bonus money that I wasn't really counting on in the first place anyway. But that's actually not what happened because, I've done pretty well in the stock market. And so, all the profits that I've made has been really icing on the cake. For example, several years ago, I invested in Netflix about $1,500. Today, that $1,500 investment is worth over $40,000, or actually about $40,000 as of this video. And so and then also the other thing is I've done that with other companies too. I invested in Apple, and I think I've made over 400% in Apple. Even Berkshire Hathaway B shares, I've made over 100%, and then I have a couple other companies as well. So, that's an example from my own personal success in terms of that. In terms of like when to sell or whatever, like how to know when to sell, one sort of hint I have for that is that after you have made money to the point of the stock going up over say a couple of years or something like that, and you've doubled it, let's say, then sell an amount equal to what you put into it. So like let's say you put in like $500, a year later it goes up to $1,000, sell $500. So at least you've got your initial investment back. Then whatever happens to that stock after that is like icing on the cake. Most likely, hopefully, if you've made a good investment, it'll keep continuing to go up. And that's all just like icing on the cake. But let's say it starts going down and starts plunging all the way down to zero. Well, at least you've got your initial investment back. So you really haven't lost any money at all. And also remember, the original money that you used to put into this stock was extra money in the very first place. So even if you lose that money that you initially put in, it was still extra money that, just bonus money that you weren't necessarily going to get in the first place. From year to year, you may not get a bonus. Like there may be certain years that you won't get a bonus, and then you certainly won't necessarily put something into the stock market that year, unless you have extra money saved up that you want to use, to do that with. But basically, even if you lose all your money, it was just money that you weren't counting on in the first place that wasn't allocated for anything else in the first place. So, in some ways, you can't really lose with my method because you're only investing bonus money, to begin with. Again, make sure it's not money that you have allocated for anything else. Make sure everything else is paid for in terms of all your bills, your 401k and all that kind of stuff, or other investments that you need to think about in your life, your emergency fund, your housing, whatever. You're only doing it with bonus money, and that way you can't really lose because you don't necessarily know what's going to happen with the stock market going forward. It could be very unpredictable. And I can't really tell you like which companies to buy stock in, but what I can tell you is, are there any products or services that you buy or use that you're very impressed with on a day-to-day basis that you really like? If so, those are the companies that you might want to consider, looking into buying stock with. For me, I was always pretty impressed with Netflix. I've used them for many, many years. And I also saw that they were announcing, this was many years ago, they were announcing that they were going to get into streaming, online streaming. prior to that, they only were a disc-based company where they would send you discs in the mail. But I kept hearing in the news that they were starting to build in the Netflix app into a lot of DVD players, into a lot of like Wi-Fi devices like the Roku and things like that, the PlayStation. And so I said, yeah, I think this is going to be a business that's going to be, you know, set up for growth. They also announced many years ago that they were going into South America. They hadn't been there before. So I kind of saw the writing on the wall for me in terms of Netflix, and that's when I decided to get in. So if if you see things like that, you know, that would kind of tell you that that might be a good stock to buy. Another thing for me was Apple. I've always liked Apple, and I've used their products, and I thought that long term they would probably be a pretty good, strong company to buy into several years ago. And so, you know, that's what I did. I've always used a lot of Apple products, and you know, I think to me in my life that's an indicator of a company that you should buy. So if there's a certain brand that you use a lot of, it probably means that you like that brand and you believe in that company, and so that might be a good company to research, you know, buying. Certain companies that impress you are companies that you might want to buy, and I can't really tell you what they are. It's on a very individual basis. But you know, in my view, there's a lot of companies that I've always admired. There's always companies that I've always, you know, been pretty impressed with, and those are the companies for me that I'm interested in buying their stock. Also, kind of think sort of long term. For me, there were times where I didn't even log into my online brokerage account for like a year. Didn't even look at it. I just kind of said, you know, I'm going to invest this bonus money that I got from work in a stock. I'm going to buy some stock, buy some shares. And, you know, I believe in that company and I think they're going to grow in the next several years. But, you know, I'm not looking at it on a day-to-day basis. I'm not really looking for that quick buck. I'm looking for a long-term haul, you know, long-term kind of investment. This is my own personal view, and this is the way that I do things. You know, I'm not like a day trader. I'm just totally different in the way that I think about investments in stocks. So, anyway, I hope you found these sort of insights helpful. This is just sort of the way that I tend to like to look at things in terms of investing in the stock market, and my way of how I never can lose money in the stock market. Because again, even if I do lose money, it was just money that was bonus money in the first place that, you know, one year I could have maybe not even had that money. So if I do lose money, I don't cry as much because I'm not investing so much risk that it's money that I was counting on in the first place. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions or comments for me, please feel free to leave them, and please make sure to subscribe to this channel as well, because I have a lot of general interest type videos in my channel. It really runs the gamut of a whole bunch of different kind of stuff. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, and yeah, if you want to talk about this more or something like that, please feel free to leave comments, and I hope you found this a little bit helpful. Thanks a lot. See you in my next video.